Welcome everyone to Daily Hope. We are in Isaiah chapter 36. In chapter 36, we find Judah and Hezekiah literally surrounded by their enemies. The king of Assyria, Sennacherib, has captured all the fortified cities of Judah, and sensing victory, he sends his commander to barter a deal with Hezekiah. The terms of the deal are simple. Surrender, and we will spare you. Resist, and we will starve you and destroy you. So it's in this vulnerable moment that we get a window into the way that the enemy of our soul works to discourage and destroy our faith in God. Look at verse 13. Then the commander stood and called out in Hebrew, "Hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. This is what the king says. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you. He cannot deliver you. Do not let Hezekiah persuade you to trust in the Lord when he says, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria." This whole scene represents the battlefield of the mind that we face on a regular basis. This commander represents the way that the enemy of our soul works to discourage, deceive, and destroy our faith in God. To deceive us into taking action that is not out of faith, but out of fear, worry, pride, or self-protection. And to discourage our trust in God in the face of some challenge. To lie and deceive us into believing that God isn't going to help us. Or number two, that we're naive and foolish to trust God. All of this to destroy our dependence on God. Are you facing that right now? Maybe you've had a moment in your past, or maybe right now in your life. There's a way in which you are sensing that the enemy is seeking to discourage and deceive you in the face of some challenge. Well, even Jesus faced this. And we see this in Matthew 27 at his vulnerable moment, which is when the enemy likes to come at us. He's hanging on the cross. Listen to how the enemy taunts Jesus. The crowd around him shouted, "Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now, if he wants him. For he said, I am the Son of God." And in the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him. This verse right here, he trusts in God. This taunting, this mockery, this patronizing, all has the mark of the enemy. And you can see the similarity between the way that the enemy taunts Hezekiah and the way that the enemy taunts Jesus. And it's the same way that the enemy seeks to discourage and deceive us today. John Mark Comer, in his book Live No Lies, describes the tactics of the enemy in this way. He writes, "Lies that come in the form of deceptive ideas are the devil's primary method of enslaving human beings and entire human societies in a vicious cycle of ruin that leads us further and further east of Eden." That's what we see going on in this passage. We see that the commander uses a couple tactics to deceive them. Number one, he speaks in Hebrew. He speaks in their language so that they can understand what he's saying. In the same way the enemy speaks through the thoughts of our own mind, speaking in ways that are familiar to us, in ways that are so easy to construe as our own thoughts or to construe as maybe God's thoughts. Secondly, the enemy comes at us to take our own words and to use them against us. He says to Jesus, when the crowds are attacking Jesus, he says, "Look, he said, I am the Son of God." And the enemy loves to use our own words against us to discourage us. Now, what do? At the very end of chapter 36, we see a really surprising response from the people of Judah. Verse 21 says, "But the people remained silent and said nothing in reply because the king had commanded, do not answer him." Now, this is a really surprising response. Now, we'll look at chapter 37 tomorrow. So come back tomorrow to Daily Hope, and you'll see the full response that Hezekiah and the people of Judah make. But this first response in 21 is a really important one. They remained silent because the king had commanded them to. Being silent in the face of our enemy's attacks has two benefits. Number one, it helps us to notice what he is saying and doing to discourage and attack us. Number two, helps us to become aware of our response internally to the enemy's attacks. This awareness and noticing are so helpful because they protect us from getting caught and the enemy's trap. The enemy wants to get you into a reactive posture where you just react out of anger, fear, pride, impatience, and it's that reactivity that makes us more vulnerable to a posture of unbelief, pride, or fear, and not out of faith. Now, this is so important for us today in our day and age where we're just so used to having things fast and quick, but this pausing, remaining silent, and noticing and becoming aware of what the enemy is doing allows us to respond in greater faith. Listen to Psalm 37:7. Be still before the Lord, wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways and carry out their wicked schemes. Be still before the Lord today, because in it he is preparing you to have victory over your enemy. God bless you. Have a great day.